It's a big schus to be here today, not because of the Churban Beis HaMikdash, but to be able to hear such wonderful speakers. But for me, in particular, to be in between Rabbi Pesach Krohn and Rabbi Goldwasser is a very big honor. And we know that when Moshe Rabbeinu was fighting, not him himself, but when he was overseeing the war against Amalek, it says that his hands became heavy. And the pasuk tells us that Aaron and Hur, one stood on one side and the other stood on the other side, and it lifted Moshe's hands to be able to, that Klal Yisrael should have the right kavanas. So Baruch Hashem, I'm zayich to have these two giants sandwiched, I'm sandwiched in between them to speak. A lot of people spoke this Tisha B'Av about sinas chinam, what it means, ahavas, Yisrael, to love Klal Yisrael. But I want to divert a little bit into something very, very powerful that I think is the avodah of Tisha B'Av itself. Now, obviously, we should have sinas, avas chinam. We should have ahava for Klal Yisrael today and all year round. But what is the avodah? What is the work that we must put in the next few hours that we have left in case Moshiach doesn't come? What is our avodah for today? What is the avodah for Tisha B'Av, and what can we take with the avodah of Tisha B'Av with us if Moshiach does not come through the course of the year to help bring it, Moshiach speedy in our days? So I want to start off, there's two things I want to mention. I want to start off with a very, very important yesod of what Tisha B'Av is. The Maral says, he brings down a Gemara in Tainus. The Gemara in Tainus says like this. The Gemara in Tainus says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, it's Daf Chavtes, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Oisa Hayoim, that day, Shechazru HaMeraglim, the Meraglim came back, Erev Tisha B'Av Hoya. It was Erev Tisha B'Av. And they cried, all of Klal Yisrael cried pretty much. Amar Lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Klal Yisrael, Atem Bechisa Bechia Shel Chinam. You cried on this day, on this night, including the day, you cried a crying for no reason. I will cause you to cry for generations on this particular day. Now the Maral says like this, before even going to the Maral actually, every Yom Tov has a Chefza Shel Mitzvah. Every Yom Tov has an object, something that signifies what that Yom Tov is. Rosh Hashanah, we know we take the shofar. Yom Kippur, we have Tshuva, we have Slicha, Sukkot, we have Lov and Esrig, Chanukah, Menorah, so on and so on, Matzah, on Pesach. So the Maral asks, what is the Chefza Shel Mitzvah on Tisha B'Av? And he says the Chefza Shel Mitzvah is Bechiyah, crying. The goal of Tisha B'Av is that we should get to such a level that we cry for the Churban Beis HaMikdash. And he says like this, he says that every Jew was created with a portion of Eretz Yisrael in his DNA. In his DNA, he had a cheluk of Eretz Yisrael, just like a Kohen. He has Yerusha for his children, they're Kohanim, and royalty, Malachim have it until Hashem takes it away. They have it in the lineage. Every Jew has a cheluk of Eretz Yisrael, was born with a cheluk of Eretz Yisrael in his system. That night when they cried Eretz Yisrael out of their system. It left them, and it was no more a cheluk of who they were as humans. Therefore, the Maral says that the same way they cried it out, we are going to, for generations, have to cry it back in. We're going to have to cry it back in. And I don't know where I saw this, but we know that when you kasher a keli, it says shabolai kach paltasai, the same heat that causes something to become not kosher, you need the same heat to kasher that particular vessel. Therefore, we need this. We cried Eretz Yisrael out of our system. We are going to need to cry it back in. And we know the Leviim, we know before Birchas HaMazon, we say, from Tehillim, we say that when the Leviim sat by the banks of the river going into Galus, they said, Eich nashri ashir Hashem. They said, how can we sing this song of Hashem? But what did they say? Al naris bavel, sham yashavnu, gam bachinu. We also cried. They were telling the Eibush that we cried. What are they? They're not 5 years old. Why we cried? So what if you cried? There's bigger destruction going on. No. They were telling the Eibush that they cried Eretz Yisrael back in. They cried it back in. But Hashem said, yes, you cried it back in, but not everyone cried at the same level. Not everyone felt the same cry that they're supposed to feel in order to cry it back in. So there's only a few hours left, and I don't know how a person is going to get to it. It's not my, to decide how each individual gets it. But we need to understand that tears are the avodah of Tisha B'Av. We need to understand that we need to cry in order to be able to facilitate the opportunity for the Beis HaMikdash to be built. Now, we do know how the power of tears, what the power of tears does. And it says, even by Yom Kippur, it says that a person can have all the gates for him closed, gates of tshuva, gates of tefillah. Gates can be closed for a human being, but the gates of Bechia, the gates of tears are never closed. And the question is, why? How can it be that the gates of tefillah, the gates of tshuva can be closed for an individual or for a nation, but the gates of tears are never closed? So the aside is, when a person cries, he becomes a different person. He is not the same person that he was before. He is not the same individual that the decree was on him. He's a different person now. And therefore, any decree that was on that person can be taken away because he became a different human being. We need to understand the power of our tears. We need to understand that we cry for the Churban Beis HaMikdash. But there has to be tears for the Churban Beis HaMikdash. There have to be tears of yearning. And when a person does cry, the Eibishter will be able to see those tears and actually bring back into every single Jew his portion of Eretz Yisrael, his portion of the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore automatically it will come. But there's another very, very important aside, and I think this is the aside that we need to take with us, not just for today, but for the rest of our lives. We know there's two concepts when it comes to yearning for Mashiach. There's a concept called chikisa, that we wait for Mashiach, and then there's a concept called tzipisa liyeshua, that we anticipate. What is the difference between chikisa and tzipisa? What is the difference between waiting and anticipating? Now, we do know there's a Gemara, Shabbos, Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph, that says that after 120 years, they're going to ask a human being 4 questions about how he dealt in business. But one of the questions they're going to ask him is, tzipisa liyeshua, did you anticipate the final redemption? Did you anticipate it? Now, why don't they ask chikisa liyeshua? We know there's a term like that. What is tzipisa? Different that they'll ask it after 120 when a person leaves the world, and the difference between chikisa and waiting. So in theory, chikisa is obviously a very, very powerful thing. You wait for Mashiach. It's important to wait for Mashiach every single day. We wait every single day for the Yeshua, for Mashiach to come. But tzipisa takes on a new element. What is this element? So I was zeicha to be in Eretz Yisrael last week. I like to go twice a year, 3 times a year, literally just people ask, why are you going? I said, why am I going? You have a simcha? No, I don't have. I'm going because I want to get spiritual injections that Eretz Yisrael gives me personally. I love being in Eretz Yisrael because I take it and I bring it back with me because I have to come back and do the avodah I do. But it lasts with me for a little while. It lasts a month, 2 months, depends on the what I put in when I was there. But I remember when I came back, it was on a Tuesday. I came back last Tuesday, and I was getting into my car. I just got off the plane. I'm getting into my car, and I'm on my way to Chazak. I'm on my way here to work with the public school kids. And from across the street, I see a bunch of little kids sitting at the corner selling lemonade. They're selling lemonade. And I see some of them are bored, some of them are excited, some of them are playing with this, playing with that. They seem to be a little bit, not involved in the selling because not every second someone's going around, buying or passing by. And I see these kids from across the street. One of them eyes me. I know them. They're neighbors. Now, I always go over to them when they're selling lemonade, and they do this constantly. The money goes to tzedakah. The mothers and fathers obviously are able to keep them busy in the afternoon, in the mornings. They didn't go to camp for whatever reasons. And one of them sees me and he starts getting excited and he jumps up and down. And I see this from the corner of my eye. I was planning on going over to them anyway, but I see that one of them is from the corner of his eye. He sees me and he starts jumping and he tells everyone, and I hear it, "It's Rabbi Walkin, it's Rabbi Walkin, it's Rabbi Walkin." Now, they're not excited to see me because I came back from Eretz Yisrael. They're not excited to see me because of any Torah that I've given them. They're excited to see me because every time I see them, I go over there and I give them $5, $10, whatever it is, and I always give them gushers. I give them some candy called gushers, and they love it. And you have to see the excitement when I give it to them. They almost trip and spill the entire lemonade just to get to this candy. So I went over to them from across the street. I looked at them and I said, give me a minute, give me a minute. And I go into my house to get it. And I saw as I'm walking down, they're jumping and they're excited. A minute ago, they weren't so excited. And all of a sudden, you should see the excitement. And I cross the street and I give them $10 and I give them the gushers. And they were so excited, made a bracha with them. It's not the point. When I'm driving here to Chazak, it hits me a tremendous yesod. They're sitting there selling lemonade, doing what their parents told them to do, doing whatever it is that they're doing that day. But when they saw me and they knew that they were getting the candy rush that they wanted to get, the anticipation, the excitement of waiting till I came out of my house, they were jumping, they were excited. I said, if only we as adults were yearning and anticipating Mashiach in the same way. We need to understand that we need to yearn for Mashiach. The difference between chikisa and tzipisa is like this. Chikisa means you wait for Mashiach. He comes, he doesn't come, he comes today, he comes tomorrow. I'm waiting. You wait for something. You don't know when it's going to come. Tzipisa means you're yearning. You're yearning. You desire. You look forward. You know he's coming any moment. And you sit by that window almost like a kid sitting by a window waiting for his father or mother to come home with whatever gifts or whatever toy or whatever game that his parents are bringing him. He keeps looking at every car that passes. He looks at every time. He looks when his parents walk out. Are they holding the bag? I know from my own youth. They're holding the bag. And you know, that's what excitement means. That's what yearning for Mashiach. Do we really yearn for Mashiach? Now, how does a person show that he's yearning for Mashiach? So I looked into it. I asked people, what do they do? What a tremendous yesod foundation that we need to incorporate in our lives. If Mashiach doesn't come today still, tomorrow, we need to put it into our daily living, is actually how would we react if we knew that Mashiach was coming in, let's say, 3-4 days from now. Mashiach's coming in 3-4 days, a week, whatever it is. How would you go about arranging your business? How would you go about maybe, I don't know, say minimizing what you put into your house? How much furniture, how much upgrade? I'm not here to judge on anyone's level what they should be doing or not doing. But when you really believe Mashiach is coming, if you really yearn for Mashiach to come and you anticipate he's coming at any moment, how would your daily life be different? And that shows Hashem. That shows Hashem that we're truly yearning. That shows Hashem that we truly believe that at any moment Mashiach would come. Now, chas v'shalom, I don't say nobody here yearns, and I don't say nobody here doesn't anticipate, but we need to do some physical things into and incorporate them into our daily lives that constantly remind us, oh yes, Mashiach is coming, so this and this is going to change in what I do daily. I didn't say a person should make a complete mahapecha, a complete upside down, change in his lifestyle. But he's got to put elements in that show that he's yearning, that show that he cares, and that show that he's looking forward to the coming of Mashiach. And I want to just mention that I saw yesterday actually something very beautiful. It says that Yitzchak Avinu, Yalk Shimoni brings it down, the Rabbi brings it down, that what? That Yitzchak Avinu asked the Eibishter during the Churban Beis HaMikdash. He came up and he asked Hashem, will the children of Klal Yisrael ever return? Will we ever return? Now the question is, why Yitzchak and not Avrohom and Yaakov? Yitzchak, as we know, is din. Yitzchak, we know, is judgment. So the destruction of the temple took place because of judgment. It took place because of Churban. So therefore, Yitzchak asked the Eibishter, will the Jewish people, will my children, will your children ever return? So Hashem answered him like this. Hashem said like this to him. He said, Yesh dar, there is a generation, shehu mitzaper lemalchusai, that waits for my royalty, for my kingship. Miyad heim negolim. That generation I will redeem right away. The generation that shows that they really yearn for me, I will come. And the Chafetz Chaim says in his Sefer Tzipisa Yeshua, he says, let's be honest, he says, there were Gedolim, there were Tzaddikim from generations past that did not merit to see Mashiach. They didn't merit it. So why should we be the ones that merit Mashiach? Why should we have that schos? And I'll be honest with you, I've thought about it many times. I thought about it, I said, come on. Didn't come in the Chassid Ish's time, didn't come in Baruch Ber's time, and didn't come in the Chafetz Chaim's time. Why would it come in our generation? So he says this Yesod. He says that you don't have to be the Gadol Hadar. You don't have to be the greatest in Chesed and Midas. That's very, very important. But the generation that yearns for Mashiach, they will merit for me to come. That means any layman, any individual, any human being can yearn Mashiach. You don't need to have gone to the greatest yeshivas of the world. You have to understand what Mashiach is. I hear that you have to understand the loss. You have to understand what we don't have. But every human being, no matter what level he's on, can merit Mashiach to come if he yearns for it. So every human being can yearn. Yearning is something that's an emotion. It's something that's a feeling. It's something you don't need to go to college for. You don't need to go to Harvard. It's something that every human being has the capability if he allows himself to understand what he lost. So I just wanted, I know Rabbi Goldwasser is going to be speaking any minute, and it's a big schus. He was very close, actually, chaver, if I'm allowed to say that, of my brother. So every time he comes to speak, I come many, many places just to hear him speak. So I'm here, Baruch Hashem, but I'm here also to hear Rabbi Goldwasser, Shlita. But I want to tell you that we need to show the Eibusher that we really miss it. We really miss it. I hate to say it. Tomorrow, beautiful, let's go back to our normal lives. I hear it. Listen, we had 3 weeks of sadness, 3 weeks of, yearning to a certain degree, but we can't forget about that we need to bring Mashiach, not for next Tisha B'Av. Immediately. Just because he doesn't come on Tisha B'Av doesn't mean he can't come the next day. Maybe the avodah that we put in by sitting here, by listening, by working on ourselves, he might come tomorrow. I don't know when he's coming. But you need to at least yearn for the peace of Yeshua. And I want to end with it's not a pasuk, it's a kinna. In kinna, hey, I don't know the Sephardic kinnis, but I know in the Ashkenazi kinnis we said this. Ad ana bechia b'tzion. We asked the Eibishter, when will the bechia b'tzion end? Or mispeit b'Yerushalayim, and the hesped of Yerushalayim, to rachem Tzion, have mercy on Tzion, v'sivna choymais Yerushalayim. We should all yearn, we should all anticipate, we should all desire, and therefore, if we have the proper yearning, we will be zeichet to build and bring the Mashiach and build the Beis HaMikdash. Thank you all for listening.